Hi, my name is Edauri Navarro Peréz, and I'm currently a postdoc at Arizona State University. I also did my dissertation here in Arizona State University, but I focus on roots, specifically how soil restoration in a greenhouse affects root development. Now, in my postdoc, I am working in ESSA, which is the Air System Science for the Anthropocene, where I do various things. I lead a seminar, I mentor an undergraduate, I help organize events, now writing proposals, and I do research too. Uh, in this research is most focused on ecological human relationships with water. I finished my PhD less than a year ago in July 2024. And then having after that a postdoc lineup. I'm also very proud of the relationships that I did during these times in Arizona. I think that they have been very fundamental for my growth professionally and personally. Then most recently at the end of this past October, I submitted a manuscript that I have been working for around 2.5 years. So I had a greenhouse experiment that was successful at the beginning and then failed several times. And this was after a year practicing all the techniques that I needed to understand and learn to complete the experiments. So this happened in kind of like in the middle of the pandemic, where I was in Tempe and I was proposing to study root development, growing in different soils with different restoration treatments. So I told my advisor at the time that I wanted to start getting experience, and she got me a greenhouse that I could go and practice by myself these different methods and start experimenting how to grow these plants, because every plant grows differently. Every plant has a different way to germinate, different amount of water depending on like how much roots do you want. There's different manipulations. So I started to just play with that, and during that time I had a greenhouse that was temperature control, and it had good lighting, so I didn't have any issues growing the plants, and that was for a year. After that, my advisor suggested to change the greenhouse, because the only limitation of the first greenhouse that I was using is that it didn't have an elevator, and when you're working with plants you have to carry a lot of heavy stuff, so it was not really accessible and potentially could like hurt myself physically because a lot of things were really heavy. So what I did is that I changed the greenhouse to another one that had more accessibility in terms of an elevator. However, it was not temperature control, and it didn't have any, or it had lighting, but it was really bad. So that's when my plant growing problems started. I started to grow the plants and they didn't grow at the beginning. I had like 5 species at the beginning and 2 of them didn't even grow. The other 3 remaining were growing, but they were struggling. And that was during the winter, meaning that there is not hot temperatures like in the summer in here. So during that first trial experiment, we just said like, let's stop because this is not growing, and let's reevaluate and assess what do we need to do. So then we reduced the amount of species because 2 of the 5 ones that were not growing, so I only have 3 species, and I re-germinate them and grew them. But with time we noticed that they were not growing a lot. With the advice of my advisor at the time, we implemented lights to grow the plants. We bought a AC and we also placed some misters. After that, I grew them again, the plants, and they didn't grow enough and we didn't know what to do. And it took some time to realize that it was not enough root material because you cannot see the roots. Like, you need to kill the plant to see the roots. So in the outside, in the leaves, they seem okay. But then when we harvest them, it was not enough. So then I had to do again the experiment. After that, we were able to actually have enough plant material to do the analysis. So professionally, I felt very delayed. I was like, I practiced this for a year. I didn't have any problems at the time. And suddenly I changed the place and everything is not working. And that was very frustrating. Yeah, I did add more time to my PhD. And personally, because of all the redoing, that just gave me food for my self-doubt. Keep going. That was my mentality. Just keep going, just keep going. I realized later that sometimes I need to take time to process things, feel my feelings, and cry if I need to cry, because all these things affect me emotionally. Like I said, this constantly redoing, it was just food for my self-doubt. So it was affecting me emotionally. At the time, I was just very automatic. I was like, okay, this didn't work. I have to figure out another way, or let's try again, or what are the things that can be improved. And I don't think that I took the time that I needed to process it in a way that it was more reflexive, as I usually helps me. But I don't tend to ignore the problem. I don't tend to be a procrastinator. I actually tend to be very productive, but to the point that is not healthy. Like I really overwork, I really overextend myself. I go to this non-healthy comfort zone, which is overworking until 3 a.m. every day when I'm in those stages. This is mostly driven because of insecurities of like, I'm not doing enough, therefore I'm not good enough. I know that this is untrue, and the reality is that I still feel like that sometimes. So because I was just overworking myself, I couldn't sleep because I was so stressed and so anxious. It did affect me physically. I was getting physically sick. So after finishing, I started my postdoc right away, but intentionally. I have been working on those coping mechanisms that are not great. I didn't want to repeat the same behaviors that I have done in the past. So I'm treating my work as work, which is like working 8 hours. When I'm working hard and not working during the weekends. I do notice that when I fulfill those boundaries, I am way more productive because I'm rested, I'm not anxious, and I'm doing things because of the joy. It's not driven by insecurities. So I'm trying to be proactive also with physical exercise because it really helps me with my anxiety. In summary, the way that I have coped in a more healthy way is by placing boundaries with me, mostly with me, with other people and work, and respecting those boundaries. Just sit at least one day and process things emotionally, think about it, and just feel whatever I needed to feel and then strategize. Especially when I'm doing research plans, I just like to sit down in the floor and draw diagrams and listen to good music, and that actually foments my curiosity and like the questions that I am interested. That really works for me. In my PhD, I think that I felt that I couldn't do that because I didn't see a lot of people doing that around that time or around me. I have learned that I need to honor the processes that I am going through. I tend to be very automatized. I don't think that I do good science when I'm automatized because I'm so tired that I can barely think. So I need time to reflect, and that was something that it hit me at the end of the PhD specifically because I was so automatic for so many years, and when I finished, I was just left with a lot of emotions that were not processed before. The physical pain that I had in my body from the consequences of being so automatic all those years. I think it's really important to remember that failure will teach us something, even if it doesn't feel like it at the moment. And that redefining what is failure and what is success for us is really important. Everybody has different ways of seeing what is success and what is failure. And also it's really important to enjoy life outside of academia, enjoy your relationships, your friends, your life, your free time. Try to explore where are you living or other places. All those stuff will make you a better scientist. So thank you so much for watching the Fail Safe Science. My name is Edauri Navarro Peréz, and I hope my story helps graduates, undergraduates, whoever reaches this helps anybody, so you feel less alone.